Unfortunately, Yamaha no longer makes these kinds of gauges anymore, and they do discolor and fade like this, where you can see that the screen gets all kinds of brown, you can't read it, and you can't buy these anymore. So we're gonna try and fix this one with this from Carlos at Quick Flip. It is a gauge repair kit. All right, for this gauge here, I think it is something similar to Yep, so you can pull this bezel off right here. I just pulled right off of there. Now the problem is that this screen is just pushed down in here, and we have to pull it out. Let's see what our kit has in it. Okay, so this is just a screen. All right, so we need to make sure and not break anything on here, because all this is going to need to be salvaged. All right, so this one is going to be the most difficult, because it appears that this screen is just glued on here, and so we literally are going to have to split this thing open with the knife to work. Oh, I don't know if I just did some damage or not. So as you can see, I got my whole knife blade in there. So this is, I might have just damaged something. I don't really know. This is the most difficult one, it looks like. Well, oh, snap. Definitely, okay. Okay, look, so I can get my blade in there and just kind of work. Oh, there's like plastic tabs or something. Okay. Okay, this thing's just glued on there with a couple plastic tabs. Here's one. Here's one, there's one. This is not too shabby, but how I'm gonna get this thing back on here is gonna be a whole nother deal. Probably got to glue that thing back on there just like the other one. So, all right, this one here. Oh man, this thing is tabbed just like all the rest of them, with all these tabs in here. But this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 of these tabs. My goodness. I'm not going to be able to get in there with the utility knife like I was the other ones. So these are probably going to have to get drilled out, or maybe even melted out. See, I think what they did is they melted these on here. It's almost like that right there. So you see that like pin? You see that pin right there? It's almost like they heat that up and melt this thing down, and that's what these are on there. So I'm wondering if I heat it up and melt them, like if I go get my soldering iron or something. I mean, the X-Acto knife was the ticket on the other gauge, but I think I can. I think I could just lift this thing up. Pull those bad boys out, easy peasy. Now then, this looks pretty much like the other one did with these tabs here, where I could just bend these things over and slide this old biscuit out of here. Now, as far as this screen goes, don't really know which is which. I'm just going to do this slowly. Bend this tab over, spin that like that, spin that like that, spin this like this, roll this biscuit over, spin that like that, spin that like that. Alright, so now This thing should come right off. Ooh, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, what I want to do, I'm going to flip this thing over like this, swing, take this thing up like this, put it down here like this. Okay, I'm going to take this off, like this, stick it down there like that, and then I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to put this one in. Okay, so that's that. Now, okay, you move this over to go down. There we go. Rotate these back. This one wasn't even done, but I'm going to do it anyway. Alright, all those are done. Huh. Well, let me plug this thing back in and we'll see what happens. Okay. Okay. There's the screen. Now I need to try this bad boy out. Let me clean all this up first, and then we're going to try this thing out before we seal it up. Well, it's been a minute since I was on this project, so the way I left it off is this screen right here. I think there's something wrong with my screen because when I plug this in, nothing happens, unlike what I do. Well, actually, let me show you. So I took apart a different gauge. Here, I got a fuel gauge. That one's trashed. This is my speed gauge. This one here's my speed. This is my fuel. I took them both apart. That way I can kind of figure out what's going on and if my screen's kind of messed up or if it's my gauge. Let me show you what I'm doing here. So the red and the black, I'm going to put power to those, and you'll see the difference in one turns on, the other one doesn't. So let me show you what I'm dealing with here. So when I put power to my gauge, you see the screen changes colors. You see that? How it's changing? The backlight's like coming on, but nothing happens. Now, that's for my speed gauge. When I do that on my fuel gauge, we good to go. Got my fuel, got all my good stuff on there, everything's working. So I'm not exactly sure if I have a problem with my screen or my actual board. I think my actual gauge board is messed up, and that's about where I draw the line. I do not know. You know, once we get into talking about the actual motherboards and stuff like that, that's a little bit above where I'm at. You know, I don't know all the circuitry and soldering this and taking this off, doing that. I don't really get into all that. But let me make sure that it's not my screen, because that's the other problem with taking these apart is sometimes it's not your screen, it's your actual board. So let me make sure that it's not my screen and it is my board, and then yeah, we'll be right there. So I'm just going to switch these two screens because I know this is 100% working, and then we'll find out if my board is pretty much bad, which I think it is. But I want to confirm that my screen's not too. And for this, it's actually pretty simple. We're just going to twist these little things right here. Twist these little bad boys. I'll bring this cover off. Now when you take this cover off, this is the important part. Because when you take this off, you notice these little rubber pieces, those need to go back down where they came from, because if you look at this gauge, there's more of these pieces at the bottom and less of these stripes at the top, and it's important to put this gauge back down that same way. And you can actually see it in the gauge. I don't know if, I guess you can't in the camera, but when you look right here, you can see stripes on there, and there's less at the top than there is at the bottom, and that's how you know which way the gauge goes, or the lens goes. Yep. So all I'm doing is lighting up, and it's not working. So same thing. It's not my screen. My screen is not the problem. Boom. There we go. My screen is good. So as long as your board's not messed up like mine is, which I don't know. I mean, if you look at my buttons, there's like green stuff on the buttons. I think when I look there, there's like corrosion and stuff on that little pin there. Pretty hard to see in the camera, but I got like this green stuff all over my buttons. I got green stuff on that solder mark. That goes all the way down to there where it's green, where it's soldered on there. So my board, there's something wrong with my board, and I don't really know. I mean, this is about where I got to step off, because I don't know anything else about the boards. But as long as your board isn't messed up, then changing out your screens are super easy in these gauges, because you just, like I showed you, take your knife and cut around it, pop your screen off, and then pull these little wires out. Very easy from the back of the gauge. You pull those out of there, and then you could drill those little things out like I showed you with you can use the X-Acto knife to cut them off. You pull the gauge out, and then you just replace that screen. Just make sure on here that you've got more. So you see how you've got these little strips from there to there. There's more on the bottom than there are at the top. And if you look at your screen, when you get the screen, as long as you get one from Carlos at Quick Flip Enterprises, there's his phone number, and I got a link to below about his site. You can get all that stuff, and he redoes gauges too. So if you don't want to do them, he will redo them. I'm sure, like, if you get to this point right here and you find out that your board is bad, you can contact him, probably send it in, and I'm sure he's got boards, stuff like that. He might sell them. I really don't know if he gets in this deep, but that's where you can get your screens from. And as long as there's nothing wrong with your board, boom, you just put the screen in there. These little tabs twist out the back. You pull that off. You change your screen. You put it back in. You push those things back in. And then you just use this right here, which is JB Weld plastic bonder. You mix this stuff up. You can dab it onto your little nipples here to put the gauge back down in to secure the board. And then you can just use this with a toothpick and run along the edge of your screen there. So then you could just put your screen back on, and then put your bezel back on, and then boom, that's how you redo your gauge. I'm not going to put this gauge back together because my board's messed up, and I need to get a screen for the fuel. Otherwise I'd put my fuel back together to show you all that, but I think you got it from here. That's all the stuff that I used. I'll leave links in the description below to all this stuff. But yeah, super easy to actually fix these gauges, opposed to throwing them away and just wasting your money. as long as your board's not messed up, which, you know, if stuff gets in here, it can mess up the board. I might play around with this a little bit more to see if I can't fix it, but yeah, if you want to fix your gauges and save a ton of money, this is how you do it.